So last night I was figuring out this deck, and I opened up Hagatha the Witch as part of my legendaries, and then I also have a bunch of other legendaries, of course, and I want to have Shudderwock, one of the new legendaries. And I want to make because Shudderwock is a control deck, okay? So I want to make a good control deck for Shaman, okay? This deck is straight up bonkers. Like, it is just crazy good if it connects. Now, there's a few things about the deck. I'm going to talk about kind of each of the cards, and I'm going to tell you about maybe some stuff we could change around and do it. And actually, I'm watching Theus on Twitch right now, and he's actually playing a version of this deck. It's a little different, and there's definitely some stuff that we could change. So Hagatha the Witch is a minion-based deck. So pretty much whenever you think, I want to make a minion-based deck, you want to put in Keleseth. That's really the thing. Because when you draw Keleseth on turn 2, like a spiteful summoner deck or something like that, you know, you end up buffing all your minions in the deck. So we're going to create a Keleseth Elemental deck revolving around Hagatha, really. And we're going to put the Shudderwock combo in here too. Because a lot of this stuff, Shudderwock stuff, if you think about Keleseth synergizes with Saronite Chain Gang. And then it also synergizes with all the other minions that you have. But we're going to put elemental synergy stuff in here too, just because Shaman works well, has good elementals in their deck. But we do miss some of the 2-drop elementals, like the Repeat Your Battle Cry. So, but you can get that off Blazing Invocation. But we only have one of those in the deck, so it's not that great. We have to make room. So one card I would cut maybe is actually surprisingly Blazecaller. Now, a lot of the elemental decks I've seen from the pro players, they do not cut this card. They actually put in 2 of them because it's so powerful. But we have a lot of powerful cards. Here's the thing about this deck. Every card, every minion has a battle cry, I think. Like, there's not one weak minion in here. And I've basically tried to perfect this deck as best I can. The only card that doesn't really have a battle cry is Mana Tide. But Mana Tide is just a really powerful card if you put it behind a Tar Creeper, or you're able to freeze your opponent. And it's just like a taunt. I mean, it's pretty bad. Like, if you just play, it's like 3 mana, draw 1, if they're able to clear it. But they have to spend time wasting, you know, 3 damage on a minion to destroy it, right? So that's not easy for them. But this deck is just bonkers, okay? So let me just go through some of the cards and why we put them in here, and kind of how everything fits together. And then in the more videos on the channel, subscribe if you haven't. You'll be able to see this deck in action and absolutely the bonkerness power of this deck. This deck can destroy other decks, and it's just the combo potential. Like, this deck has insane combo potential. So let's go through it. Blazing Invocation, you're able to discover a Battlecry minion. Now, this is a really powerful card. It's actually a sleeper card. It's really powerful. Yes, it's random. It's RNG. This deck is RNG, so it's not the perfect control deck like the Warlock decks, because they can really control what minions they get and everything. Like, when you're using Hagatha's passive hero power, you're getting all this RNG. But think about it, if you Blazing Evocation, like Kalento actually played this card, and he was actually saying, like, okay, I can get that Blood Knight if I play against a Paladin. So you can, like, adapt very, very well. And there's a lot of powerful Battlecry minions. Firefly is just one of the best 1-drops. It really contests early aggro, too. It's just a good card. Glacial Shard, freeze an enemy. So if this connects with Shudderwock, you freeze an enemy. Now, you only have 1 of these in the deck. So, I mean, it would be nice. It'd be nice if we could put in 2, but we can't. We have to make room. It's because it's just a 1-drop. So I don't want to put too many 1-drops, because I want to make a controlled deck. Prince Keleseth is OP. It probably bumps your win rate. I put it in a lot of my decks, and it's a fun card to play. And guess what? It goes off with Shudderwock too, so it's super OP. I mean, I was able once to when I was playing against a Warlock, play Shudderwock, and this thing triggered like 4 or 5 times. The next Blazecaller I called was a 12/12. The Ooze, we just have a lot of weapon removal. This is for basically fighting Warlocks and Paladins. And just in general, people who play weapons. And guess what? Combos off Shudderwock. It actually works off Rogues too pretty well. There's a lot of rogues, tempo rogues that are playing with the 2/2 weapon now with the upgraded hero power. Manatide is a really just one of the best shaman cards out there, so that's why I put it in here. It just enables us to draw. It gives us some draw mechanic. If we're able to put it behind our Tar Creeper, or just I coin it out, and if they can't handle it because their deck is too slow or whatever, it basically forces them to do something. And if they can't do, like against like the Spiteful Druids, they can't really. It's hard for them to deal with it. They have to like play that rush minion sometimes and smack it. But again, it's difficult for them. And Tar Creeper is just basically one of the best 3-drops in the game. It's just insanely well statted as a 3/5. Yes, it only has 1 attack, but again, with Keleseth, this is a bonkers card. Zola is another card that tries to enable the Shudderwock combo to connect better. This is an awesome combo card. Yes, it's poorly statted. We could swap this card out for something else. But when the late game comes, I've been able to Zola things like are really powerful cards. Like you can Zola Grumble and have 2 Grumbles in your hand, and you can Zola Blazecaller. You can, if something sticks, you're able to Zola it. That's the whole point. And it's super OP. And a lot of aggro people are just stupid. They won't even attack your minions, or they can't. So like you can Zola Kalimos like multiple times, and every time Kalimos goes off, Battle Cry. Now the Battle Cry effect when Shudderwock hits it is totally random, but all the Battle Cry effects are badass that he does. But I'm going to get to that in a minute. Hex is pretty much against Warlocks, and just it's a silence and neutralizing effect on a minion. The only problem is it does create a taunt. So like against like some of the Druid decks I've noticed, the Spiteful Druid decks, is very difficult to kind of get off on them. Lifedrinker is a part of the Shudderwock combo. The problem I was starting to have when I created this deck, and I was using like the 3-mana Elemental, the 2/4. The problem is that you need to get mana onto your hero, and that Battle Cry, if we actually look at that card right here, the Hot Spring Elemental, the problem is this is completely random. It just says restore 3 health. This one is much more direct. It says deal 3 damage to the enemy hero and restore 3 health to your hero. So it combos with, this is just a part of the Shudderwock combo. So if you hit Shudderwock on turn 9, it's just super OP. Saronite Chain Gang is a part of the Shudderwock combo, and it's just a decent taunt, and guess what? It synergizes very well with Keleseth. Harrison Jones, again, another anti-Warlock card. This is a card that, you know, we could probably, if you want to be less greedy with this deck, you could cut this and put a 2-mana, you can't put the 2-mana Ooze, but put the 3-mana Ooze in it. You know, craft another one of these and put it. I only have 1 of these crafted from the Ungoro set. And Harrison Jones is just another legendary. The problem is that in the late game with this deck, your card draw is too high, and I would actually rather get armor. But sometimes you're going to want card draw, right? Because for whatever reason, like if you hit the Warlocks thing with this, the game's pretty much over. I mean, you're going to draw 3 cards off that and put a 5/4 in play when they've played nothing typically. Servant of Kalimos is a decent elemental. It's not the greatest because it's not that well statted, but we get to discover elementals off of it, and some of the elementals are pretty good. There's some new elementals now in the expansion that are okay. Again, we can discover those 2-drop elementals that have the battle cry effects too. And guess what? I changed some card and I put Thrall in here because sometimes stuff sticks in the board, like in the early game, and if your opponent doesn't clear it, you Thrall. And guess what? It's a battle cry. Now, I think what happens if this hits Shudderwock, yeah, you're going to hit Shudderwock right away and he's going to evolve. But if you hit Shudderwock and you got stuff on the board and you're snowballing, this is where this deck starts to get crazy. This is what I'm trying to tell you. This deck is crazy. This battle cry triggers. And all your creatures cost 2 more. The problem is people concede. It just... You start to combo them so hard, they'll concede like right away. Volcano is just a control card, if you want to think about it. It's just a board. It's an attempt at a board clear. You know, I was thinking what you could do is you could swap Manatide for the Acolyte of Pain, and that combos really well with Volcano, actually. That's another card choice that you could do instead of Manatide, but I think Manatide, if left uncontested, is really good. And often, if you play Acolyte of Pain, yes, it does have a 1 attack, so it's debatable whether you want to do it. And remember, this isn't like we have no real way. The only way we can buff this Manatide into a 1/4, you know, and it might, Acolyte of Pain might be better because it would be better statted with Keleseth. And again, with Volcano, every tick hits that card, it creates a card draw. So basically, by turn 5 or 6, we have a lot of cards in our hand. That's the problem with this deck, though, is it generates too much value late game. Fire Elemental is a pretty awesome card because it instantly does 3 damage on the board. It's pretty good. Grumble, Worldshaker, part of the Shudderwock combo, but you can combo potential things, and this can get crazy. Again, if you just start getting ahead a little bit and you start comboing, there's a lot of powerful combo. Like you put a 6. I'm surprised how well this card performs, the 6-drop. You go out, you cast it, you do a 3 damage swing to someone. They don't want to attack into this. You Grumble it back in your hand on turn 7. You play Grumble, which is a 7/7, then you immediately play the Fire Elemental. You do 3 more damage to them. Blazecaller is just a really good card. It's like basically like a better version of Fire Elemental. It costs 1 mana more, but we do 5 damage. Again, these are both Battlecry. All these are Battlecry minions, and you can see they chain really well together. And the reason why I guess we just don't have 2 Blazecallers is because we have Grumble in the hand, and we just have too much lay value. I want to put Hagatha in the deck because it's awesome, and I told you it's sort of a minion-based deck. So again, that combos off everything. Again, does 3 damage Battlecry, triggers off Shudderwock. Pretty badass. And it gives you 5 armor. That's the thing about these hero power, these Death Knights, is they heal you for 5, too. That's what people understand. In this deck, like Shamans, we don't have Healing Rain in this deck. Yes, I want Healing Rain in the deck, but we have Lifedrinker instead. I mean, we have cards that we're trying to get our HP back. And Kalimos is an awesome card. Again, if we get to turn 8, we can heal ourselves for 15. So we can, and it's extremely adaptable. Like if I play against a Taunt Warrior, I summoned a bunch, he like already spent his Brawl. I put a bunch of elementals on the board. He executes, and then I think I was able to, you can Shudderwock them back in the hand, and like it's crazy. And so Shudderwock is like the icing on the cake. Don't underestimate the power of this card, because what it can do with this deck, yes, a lot of effects it's way more random than the Shudderwock OTK deck, but this deck is way more fun to play than the OTK deck. It's just bonkers. This is how crazy this deck can get. So think about all the battle cries we just talked about, right? All those battle cries trigger off Shudderwock, drawing discovering an elemental, evolving our board by 2, doing 2 damage, 3 single target damage, Kalimos, Primal Lord, battle cry effects. So this is crazy. Now here's the thing about Shudderwock. The elemental battle cries will not trigger unless you play an elemental the previous turn. But if you look at our hand, we have a lot of elementals and we have a firefly. So another thing too is your second firefly that you create. So in turn 1, you play a firefly, then you totem, and then you kind of want to hold on to that second firefly to try to synergize past turn 5, which is when the elemental synergies kick in. So on turn 4, you have to play you want to play an elemental, which is not fantastic since we do have a lot of 4-drops already. So in conclusion, this deck is bonkers. Like this deck's combo potential is insane. This could be a great deck. I think I still could be refined a little more. Obviously, you could cut like Hagatha out and put in like stuff. You could do other cool stuff. But I want to win the control. I want to be the control master here with Shaman. I want to be the control dude. One card we cut is we cut the 3 damage Lightning Storm. So I was playing against like druids and stuff. You're going to be weaker against paladins. But the problem is this card is just not that good. The problem is Shaman used to have a Maelstrom portal, which handled dudes really well. So Shaman's just like in a bad spot in that regard. Because they used to handle, like, it was an anti-aggro card, and it put a guy on the board, right? That you could eventually evolve or something. This card overloads you by 2. It's just, it should probably, you know, overload you by 1 or something, or not even overload you. Because Shamans just don't have the board clear potential. So all the board clears that Shamans have are, they cost overload. And so overload, the problem with overload is it really sets you back. Especially if you play a 3 mana overload card. And then people play like Tar Creepers and things. Like, this card is just dated. That's the way I feel. It's just like the power level of all the cards in the game. You know, you're going to low roll on this. You're going to get 2 damage on minions, and almost every minion has 3 health. So Shamans are in a bad spot in that regard of, you know, the control. So when I played this card, I felt like I got out-tempoed by like a Spiteful Druid, for instance. And so I was like, I can't play this card. And the only deck it probably works well against is against Paladin, really, or basically when they play a lot of dudes. And yes, you're going to have to draw your early game with this deck. This deck is crazy, though. It's so much fun to play. I literally couldn't stop playing this deck all night last night. Hope you guys enjoy the deck. Check out the channel if you want to see the games of this deck and see some of the awesome combo potential. I'll be playing in Legend. It's a really fun deck to play. Check it out. Like, subscribe, comment. I'll see you guys in the next video.